Hi everybody, welcome to GTCoding. In this tutorial series, we are creating this pricing table from scratch. And in the previous video, we wrote the HTML for this design. And in this video, we will style it using CSS. So let's get started. So this is our project file. We have all the HTML over here. So we have everything ready in the HTML to be styled. And we have also linked our style.css file over here. So let's go directly to the style.css file and let's start styling our pricing table. Now the first thing we will do is we will set the font family. So I'll just type pricing table container, which is the main container division. So this division right here, and we'll give it a font family of Poppins and sans serif. So here we can see we have already added the link of the font over here from Google Fonts, and we can directly use that over here. Alright, so here we can see the font has changed over here in our design. Now it'll be easier for you to follow when you have the CSS on the left and the design on the right, so that you can clearly see what is going on. So I'll just have this design over here on the right, but since our design is larger than this window size over here, I'll just zoom out a little bit, and at the end we will just maximize it and see it in the correct size. But as of now, we will just have it zoomed out a little bit so that we can see everything clearly. Now let's go ahead and start with the switch. So let's type pricing table container plans switch, and let's see what is the width and the height of the switch. So let's select this, and the width is 280 pixels. So let's set the width to 280 pixels, and we'll give it a background color. And for the colors, we have already set these variables over here. So let's add the dark blue color. So I'll just type var, and in parentheses we will type hyphen dark blue. And let's also set a height. So I'll just set a height of 55 pixels, and let's set the appearance to none. Now we can see that the checkbox is not being displayed, but we have the width and the height applied over here, and we also have the background color. Alright, so now let's set the border radius. So the border radius is set to 24 pixels. So let's set that over here, 24 pixels. And when we click on this, we can see that we have this outline. So let's remove that. For that, we'll just type outline none. Now we don't have the outline. And we'll also set the cursor to pointer, so that when you hover over this, we have the pointer. So I'll just type cursor pointer. Now we can see we have a different cursor. Now this is the plan switch, which is this input right here. So this input, this is the plan switch. Now we have this division with the class of plan switch container, which contains this input as well as the monthly and the yearly text. So now let's target this, and we will set a position of relative to it, so that we can position the monthly and the yearly relative to this plan switch container. So let's go over here and let's type pricing table container and plans switch container, and we'll set the position to relative, and we'll set the color of the text to white. So we can see that the color has changed to white. Now let's position them over here in the plan switch container. So let's type pricing table container plan switch container, and then we have the span with the class of monthly, and we'll position it absolute, and we'll set the left position to 36 pixels and the top position to 18 pixels. Let me just reset the zoom and see how it looks. Alright, it looks fine. Now we don't want this text to be interactable, so we don't want it to be selected over here like this. So for that, we will just set pointer events to none. Now when we hover over this, we can see that we cannot select or interact with this text. Right, now let's copy this and position the yearly text. So I'll just type yearly over here, and even for this we will set the position to absolute, and we'll set the right position to 36 pixels, and we'll set the top to 18 pixels, and it's not being displayed. So let's right click and inspect, and here we can see that yearly is displayed on the extreme right of the screen. So this plan switch container has a width of 100% of the screen because it is a division. Now we'll simply set it to display of inline block. So we'll set the display to inline block, and now we can see that it has the width of the content. So now we have monthly and yearly displayed over here. We'll also set the pointer events to none over here. Alright, now let's create the shape that we have inside here. So for that we need to have a lesser height and around half width. So I think we can double click over here and let's see. The height is set to 44 and the width is set to 137. Let's see how it works. Now for that shape we will be using the before selector. The before and the after selectors are used to add extra information to your elements. So let me show you how it works. Let's type pricing table container and we'll type plan switch : before, and here let's type content, and let's type something over here. We'll just type 1 2 3, and we can see 1 2 3 is being displayed over here. I hope you can see it. Let's just change the color. We can see 1 2 3 is being displayed over here. So whatever content we have over here will be displayed at the beginning of this element. Now let's remove 1 2 3 from here and we'll just leave it blank, and we will add a shape over here. Now we need to have the position of the shape relative to this plan switch. So let's go back to plan switch and let's add position relative so that we can add position absolute over here. So let's type position absolute, and let's see the height and the width. The width is 137 pixels and the height is 44. Let's try it. Height of 44 pixels and width of 137 pixels, and the border radius is the same, which is 24 pixels, and we need to set the background color to the green color that we have in our variable. So we'll just type green. Alright, now we need to position it vertically in the center. So for that we'll just type top position to 50%, and now we can see it starts from the 50% mark. Now we need to set the transform and translate y to negative 50%, and now we can see that it is exactly in the center. We'll also set a left position of 8 pixels or maybe 6 pixels. Alright, that looks fine. Now this width seems to be a little bit more than we need, so let me just set it to 130 pixels or maybe 120 pixels. Alright, this looks fine. Now we can have different styles based on whether the checkbox is checked or not. So let's type pricing table container plan switch : checked : before. Now what we are doing over here is that we are checking whether it is checked, and if the checkbox is checked, then we want to add some styles to the before. So if it is checked, we will have the left position to something different. For now I'll just type 120 pixels. We'll also set a width of 100 pixels for now. So let's click over here, and we can see that when we click on that, the checkbox is being checked and we have a different position for the left. And let's click on it once more and it goes back to the original position. Alright, so now we need to set the position correctly for the yearly. So let's right click over here and inspect, and let's set the left value. So here for the before I'll just add a little bit more of the left value, and I think this looks fine. But I think that the overall width of the plan switch container is more than we need. So let's go back to plan switch container. I think it is inside the input checkbox. So here let's reduce the width a little bit, and maybe 250 pixels, or that looks fine. So we will set the width of this plan switch to 250 pixels. Right now for yearly we will add the left value. So 144 looks fine, and we'll set a width as well. Right, a combination of 138 of left position and width of 106 pixels looks fine. So let's copy these two values from here and paste them over here. Right, now let's click on this and we can see that it switches correctly. Let's also add a smooth transition. So for that we'll type transition and we will set a transition of 0.5 seconds. We'll set it to all the properties and let's click on it once more and we can see that the transition is working alright. So our switch is working as expected. Now we want this heading and this switch to be one next to the other, but right now since it is an H2, it takes up the whole space. Here we can see that for this we have a division called pricing header. So we'll set the display to flex so that all the elements are one next to the other. Here we'll just type pricing table container pricing header and we'll set the display to flex and align items to center and justify content to center, and we'll have some margin right for the H2. So I'll type pricing table container H2 and we'll type margin right of 32 pixels and let's see what is the font size. So let's select this and the font size is 24 pixels. So let's add that over here, font size 24 pixels. For the plans we have this division with the class of table, so let's target that. So here we'll just type pricing table. So here we have this division with the class of pricing table and in that we have this division with the class of table. So let's target that and let's give it a background color of light color. And we have to have a set width for that. So let's go over here and see what is the width. And it says the width is 285.5. Now we may have to change the width a little bit to look good in our CSS. But for now let's go with 280 pixels and let's see how it works. So we'll set a width of 280 pixels. And we also have a padding of 32 pixels. If we press Alt, we can see we have a spacing of 32 pixels from the sides. So let's add a padding of 32 pixels. And when we added the padding, the width changed a little bit. So I think we can decrease the width a little bit. So I'll just set the width to 260 pixels. Sometimes you have to change the values a little bit to make it look better on your real website. Alright, now let's target the S3 which is inside the table. So just type pricing table S3 and let's see what is the font size for the S3. So we have a font size of 24 pixels. So let's type font size 24 pixels. I think we have a lot of space at the top, so let's remove the margin. Right, now let's target the price. So it is inside pricing table and we have a container division called price container and in that we have the price. So let's see what is the font size of the price. So we have a font size of 54 pixels. So let's type font size of 56 pixels and we also need to set the font weight to bold and we will have a padding right of 16 pixels and we want both of these to be centered. So let's set the display of the container division to display flex. So just type pricing table price container. So we'll just type display of flex and align items to the center. Now let's target the description. So we'll just type pricing table description and let's see what is the font size of the description. So it is 13 pixels. So let's set a font size of 13 pixels and I think it looks a little bit too small, so I'll just change it to 14 pixels or maybe 15 pixels. Alright, this looks fine. Now let's target the unordered list, which is the features. So let's type pricing table and we have the class of features for the unordered list, and we'll just remove these bullets from here. So we'll just type list style to none, and we'll just set a padding of 0. Alright, now let's target the list items inside the unordered list. So we'll just type pricing table features li. Now we'll set a margin of 24 pixels for top and bottom and 0 for left and right. Now instead of the bullets, we want to have the check icon. For that we'll use the before selector. So just type pricing table features li : before, and we'll set the content as a URL. So just type URL, and we'll just pass the URL of the image. So we have the check icon over here. Now we can see we have this check icon in front of all the list items. Let's also add some margin right. We'll add a margin right of 16 pixels. We want it to be centered correctly, so we'll just type margin top of 5 pixels. The margin top is not working, so let's go over here to features li, and we'll just set the display to flex, and we'll just set the align items to center. Alright, now we can see that it is in the center. I think we'll just set the margin top to 4 pixels. Alright, that looks alright. Now let's target this button. So we'll just type pricing table a.btn, and for the button we will have a background color. So let's see what is the background color for this button. So we have the dark blue. So let's type var dark blue, and let's set a padding of 16 pixels for top and bottom and 0 for left and right, and we'll set the display to inline block, and we'll set the width to 100%, and let's set the color of the text to white, and let's see what is the text size. So the text size is 18 pixels. So let's type font size of 18 pixels and font weight to bold, and we'll text align it to the center, and we'll remove the underlines by typing text decoration to none, and we'll also have a border radius of 24 pixels, and we'll have a margin top of 24 pixels, or maybe a little less, maybe 18 pixels or 16 pixels. Alright, now we'll style this image shape that we have over here, and we want to set the position of this shape relative to this container division, which is the table. So let's go over here to the code for the table, and here we will type position relative. Alright, now let's target the image shape. So let's go back to index.html, and this is the shape, and we'll also add a class to this image. So just type class equals table bg. Alright, now let's target this, and here we will type pricing table img.table bg, and we'll set the position to absolute, and we'll set the bottom to 0, and the left to 0, and right to 0, and we'll set the width to 100%. Alright, now we have the image placed correctly, but it is on top of the other content over here. So for that we have to set a z index for the whole content. So let's type pricing table and table content. So here we can see for inside the table we have this division with the class of content. So let's set a z index of 200, and since this has a position of absolute, we also need to have a position of something over here. So we'll just set position of relative, and now we can see that the button is on top of the background, and I think we have a lot of space between the heading and this price. So let's go to the h3. So here we'll also add a margin bottom, and we'll first of all start with 0, and I think that looks alright. Alright, I think that's it with the basic plan. Now let's move on to the best value plan. So let's go over here and let's target that. And if you go back to the HTML, we can see that we have also added a class called best value to the best value plan. So let's target that over here. We'll just type pricing table dot best value, So this will target the table with the class of best value. And first of all, let's add a background color of dark blue, and we'll also set the color of the text to white, and we also need a border radius. And let's see what is the border radius. So double click over here and we can see the border radius is 24 pixels. So let's add a border radius of 24 pixels, and we also want to have a width more than the other plans. So let's go over here and see what is the width of the other plans. So the width is 260 pixels. Now for this we will have a width of, let's say, 280 pixels. Now the background image doesn't have the styles because we haven't added the class that we added over here. So we have added this class called table bg in this first image. So let's copy that and paste it in the other images as well, and do the same in the third image as well. Right, now let's target this text best value. So in our index.html we can see that here we have a span with a class of value. So let's target that. We'll just type pricing table, table.best value and value, and we'll set the position to absolute, and we'll set the top value to 0, left to 0 and right to 0, and text align it to the center, and we'll have a padding of 8 pixels, and we'll give it a border radius of 24 pixels top left and top right, and 0 for the rest, and we'll have a background color of pink. So just type var pink, and we'll also set the font weight to bold. Alright, now for the content inside the best value plan, we will have a padding top. So we'll just type pricing table, table.best value content, and we'll have a padding top of 32 pixels. And let's see what is the font size of this plan right here. So let's click over here, and the font size is 68 pixels. So let's go over here and target that. So we'll just type pricing table, table best value price, and font size of 68 pixels. And let's see what is the color of this button, and it is the yellow color. So let's type pricing table, table best value a.btn, and we'll set the background color to var yellow and the color of the text to black. And I think it will look good if we have a lighter color for this description. So let's type pricing table, table best value description, and we'll set the color to light gray, and we'll also have a different color for the description in the other plans. So let's go over here and we'll type color, and we'll just have 222. Alright, we have styled all the plans. Now the last thing we need to do is position them one next to the other. So I'll just maximize this. Let's go over here to the HTML, and we can see we have this container division called pricing table, and let's set the display of this division to flex. So let's go back to the top, and here after the plan switch code, let's type pricing table, and we'll set the display to flex. And now we can see everything is one next to the other, and we'll also set align items to center and justify content to the center. Now we can see everything is in the center, and we'll also add a margin top. So we'll set a margin top of 32 pixels. So that's basically it with the styling of our pricing table. Now in the next video I'll show you how to change the price when we click on the yearly or the monthly switch. So that's basically it for this video. If you have any doubts you can ask in the comments below, and if you like this video please click on the like button and subscribe to this channel to get the latest video updates. Thanks a lot for watching. Have a nice day.